Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting edition of You Don't Jazz No Berries. I am the host of Pact Playa, and always alongside me is Supernova herself, Miss Lady K. And today we have a very special episode for you. Say, partner, this is it for this season, isn't it?
Unfortunately, but we'll be back though.
So, with that being said, hopefully, if YouTube and other platforms are happy to have us, we're going to keep going until the wheels fall off, and we're going to continue to bring you guys the news. So, with that being said, we have a two-part season finale, and the topic is the banks and the banking system. How does it work? The history, all that nonsense carrying on. And what we would like to tell you in the introduction is basically if you're trying to get a business loan, a home loan, even a personal loan, they're 9 times out of 10, they're going to say no. And not only are we going to show you, but we'll prove it to you with facts and statistics that back up what we are saying. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right on into it.
So when I was looking up the first bank to see when it was actually established, I found out it was like the first bank of the United States, and it was in like 1791. There was Thomas Jefferson and uh, Alexander Hamilton, I believe. And Alexander Hamilton's actually the one that wanted that to be something that was established, but Thomas Jefferson didn't want that to happen. And so he actually wanted to have an aggregate society, which is like a society that it's ran off produce and agriculture, like farmers basically, but without having the banking system, because he didn't think that people should have to be involved in other people's lives. Like the government shouldn't control all of the money and be a monopoly. But that's not how Alexander Hamilton felt. So he ended up going to Congress with it, and then actually ended up getting it passed. And then that's when the first bank opened. So I wonder what it would be like if we didn't have that today. If we were running just off produce and agriculture. I don't know. I mean, we were hunters and gatherers at one time. So we maybe would have been fine.
Okay, so I guess since we have, the archetype or the architect of who started the banks in America, let's dive in a little bit deeper and, kind of walk this thing up to where we are today. But before we do that, let me say this. Ever since, your first king in history or whatever, there was some kind of banking system. And of course, we know how to bank because of the Romans and stuff like that. They were banking, and I'm arguing, like I said, Nimrod, those boys and stuff like that, even the land of Canaan, those boys, they probably knew how to bank, and then they taught the Romans, and then, basically it got to us some way or another. So with that being said, let's talk about land banking and when did that start. Okay, land banking started in 1920s to the 1930s. Okay, and basically they were giving out loans for land and stuff like that. So at this time, it was probably a lot easier to apply for a bank loan to possess some land and basically, you know, pretty much if your family owned a significant amount of land and stuff like that, there's probably no first generation quote unquote farmer or landowner or whatever the case may be. I know we got a lot, but it's just a little lot. It's not like acres and acres of land and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then it says the first land bank was created in St. Louis in 1971. Okay, but this is a specific bank just for land, you know. So of course, now we speed up to the 1990s and 2000s and stuff like that. So basically, all the land is taken up by farmers and the banks and stuff like that. Still, that's why you see acres for sale and stuff like that. I know driving around, I'm not really gonna tell you guys where we live at per se and stuff like that, but driving around and stuff like that, um, you see basically in the newspaper and stuff like that, there's all kinds of lands for sale and stuff like that. And who's actually selling it is the bank, and they're operating off a first come first serve basis and stuff like that because the quicker they can get somebody, a sucker, so to speak, to take out a loan, the more they can start taxing you and taxing you and taxing you, so to speak, and basically put you in debt and make you quote unquote a slave to the system, so to speak. So you'll have to continuously play the game and continuously play the game with basically no end in sight, and then pretty much your children's children, you know, they're basically playing the same game as you once did, you in general, you once did and stuff like that, and it's basically no end in sight. There was a point in time in history where you didn't have to do this, of course. So, like how you said before, you know, maybe the system is going to collapse. Maybe not. We'll see. You know, but we're definitely getting tired of this because you're working basically all your life, especially at a 9 to 5, and there's no benefit for you doing this. And especially farmers and stuff like that. Um, they're producing crops so we can eat, so to speak. And if they don't meet quota or whatever, and if they don't make money enough to pay for their loans, then of course the bank is going to come in there and repossess it. And I would like to say, you know, if you got a car, especially, and if you don't pay your car note, then the will send a repo man out there, and he'll come and repossess that thing.
So, when I was doing this research about the banking system and getting business loans and stuff, I was looking at some different statistics, and I found that there's a lot of racial discrimination in housing, and not housing, just housing, because I was looking at home loans as well, but also in the whole business market itself, like trying to get loans for your business. I know that one of the things that I read was that there was white business owners got about 35% more approvals for business loans compared to the Hispanic people that got 19%, Black or African Americans that got 16%, and Asians that got 15% of the business loans. So then that's already hindering somebody that's of a different race than a white person right away. And then it says that 47% of Black Americans and about 44% of Hispanic business owners were more likely to be denied than somebody that was white or Asian.
So a little bit of history. Um, so when the Asian man came here, um, at this time there were a plethora of black businesses, right? So the bank system did us dirty and put all these rules and regulations in place where we couldn't pay our rent on time. So they repossessed our land and our businesses. And when the Asian man came here, they gave our businesses to the Asian person. And I do remember we went to one of the bigger cities around the area, and you was with me, and I had to get a couple do rags, couple oils and stuff like that for my hair care products and stuff. Get a couple beads for my cornrows and stuff like that. Even though my hair is much more longer and more comfortable now, But you know, in the ugly time or the garbage time or whatever like that, I had to get beads in order to train my hair and stretch it out and stuff. So we had to go there and pick up some beads and stuff. And of course, what did we see there? Didn't fail. And of course, this may sound quote unquote very racist, but I do have a couple Asian friends and stuff like that. So this is like no shade to the Asian community, you know, but you can't deny what you see. And what did we see? We saw in the black community a black store that was ran by the Asian man. And of course, I tell you what, we couldn't even walk down one aisle before somebody was bumping into me. And I keep telling you, I don't like that. I barely even like hugs like that. You know what I'm saying? Even though I give them out, you know, that's to help you out with depression and stuff like that. So you gotta smile and give hugs and stuff like that. But you know, the floor been dirty this whole time, but as soon as I step in your store, now you got to sweep up. And not only do you have to sweep up, but you have to sweep up in the aisle that I'm trying to walk down. So every time I pass you, I got to look at your dirty face because you want me out of your store and stuff like that. I mean, being a black man, especially going through that kind of scrutiny and stuff like that, it's like I understand he got to get his money, but if you're really opposing the paw of a black person being in your store, why is you in our community? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And even when I was reading the statistics, it was saying that 40% of black small business owners didn't even apply for financing in 2020 to 2021 because they thought they were going to be denied for it. So, what is that doing, and how is that holding back our community that we have from everybody flourishing like they should? You know, if we're saying only white people can have good ideas, then what are we saying? Because there's a whole world out there and many things I want to try.
Okay, so the next thing we're going to bring up is why people are getting denied at this remarkable rate. So, the first thing, I have to look at the computer, so please forgive me. But the first way is damaged credit. So, I'm going to give you one key to the kingdom because it helped me out. And remarkable enough, ladies and gentlemen, I learned this from a white guy, right? Because I was trying to buy a car and I was like, okay, how do I do this? And then here's what he said. So hopefully this can help you out. He said, basically get like a little credit card or whatever and just make small purchases and make sure you pay a credit card either right on time or before the time limit is up. You know what I'm saying? So make sure you do that. So pick your credit up. Can't have damaged credit. So next one is insufficient time in business. Really don't know what that is, but it says cash flow limitations. So, you can't really be working like fast food or whatever. You might have to put a lien on your house and stuff like that. Things of that nature. So they have to see where the money's coming from, or else you ain't gonna get a loan. And then not enough collateral, of course. Like I say, you might have to put a lien on a house. Let's say you got like a Aston Martin music or whatever like that. You could probably put that up for collateral or whatever. Which I don't really think cars are that good. And if you have any other properties, anything like that. You could put that up as collateral, and not having enough of it will probably get you denied. And it says missing documents or information. Don't lie, okay? Please don't lie, okay? Matter of fact, not only are they going to deny you, but they're going to talk to the IRS one way or the other. And if your name come up for you lying and stuff like that, not only are you going to get denied, but you might be facing jail and or prison time. So don't lie, okay? And it says too much existing debt. So that means student loan, basically not paying your bills on time, which they're starting to track that now more than ever. So student loan, not paying your bill on time, um, having like another bank account open or whatever, and that is past due because you're not using your credit, maxing out your credit cards, just basically way too much debt. They're gonna basically deny you. And then of course, risky business. What they mean by risky business, I don't even have to read this. I could just tell you straight up. Okay, listen, don't holler at me, and this is how the bank is saying, like in the back of their mind. It doesn't matter if they black or white, but they like, man, don't holler at me, man. You talking about some, you trying to run a emu petting zoo business or whatever in South Dakota, or basically I'm trying to run a callus skin massage, in Florida or whatever, because they got spas and stuff. So basically, you trying to buy a kiosk in a mall and you got like a little cheese grater trying to scrape off the dead skin on somebody's ankles and stuff like that. Of course, I'm gonna get ridiculous and stuff like that, but you have to understand, the more ridiculous your business pitch is, the sooner they're gonna call you out and just basically, not even entertain the fact that you can or can't get a business loan.
So, in looking at the business loans and stuff, I was looking at different things, and along with the statistics, like I talked about before, I was also looking at how hard it is to get one, just because I also want to get one myself. And then you kind of talked about some of the things that would be risky. So another thing I thought of on that point too was bankruptcy. So if you have bankruptcy, obviously that's probably going to be hard for you. And then that made me segue into thinking about actually two different stories that I have. One of them is a little bit longer, so I'm just going to start with that one. But one of my grandparents actually had, well, actually, my great grandparents, my great grandma, great grandpa, they actually owned a bunch of land, and it was out by the airport. And it was probably from, I mean, acres and acres and acres of land. Even the airport itself, they owned. And then one of their children actually had a gambling problem, and the parents kept my grandparents kept bailing him out. My great grandparents, I should say. So bailing out their child, and because of that, they ended up losing all of their land that they had. They even had a street named after them. But that's one instance. And then the other one is my other side of the family. My grandpa on that side actually owned some land himself, his house, and he had talked to his brother to get help, establishing, getting that loan for the home, for the farmland, everything. And then later on, once my grandpa passed away, he passed away pretty early on, the bank took that property back. So we actually didn't have a farm, but I could have been a farmer though.
In closing, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to do a assessment or a project, our first live action edition of You Don't Jazz No Berries. And of course, we have more live action additions to the show coming in season 3. Okay. So the very last episode, which would be episode 10, which is probably going to be next week, I'm going to do some reconnaissance, some spy gear stuff, and I'm actually going to infiltrate the banks and try to expose them for who they are. And like how I said, this is like no racism, no nothing. But I'm going to prove to you guys two things: that it's very hard for a black man like myself to actually get a business loan. And I'm also going to prove that people in general is very, very hard to get a business loan. Okay. So those are the two things I'll be proving next week. So you guys stay tuned because it's going to be epic. All right. That does it for us. Once again, I am the host of Impact Playa, and always with me is Miss Lady K. And tune in next week for epic finale of You on Jazz No Berries. Peace.